world's cheapest car was launched with much fanfare last year. Tata's Nano was priced at just over $2,000 and offered Indian car owners what the makers thought was amazing value for money. Instead, sales of the Nano have been falling for the last 4 months. Tata Motors sold only 509 Nanos in November, a stark contrast from the 9,000 delivered in July. That's a sign of just how hard it is for companies, marketers and investors to figure out India's consumers. Indian buyers are notoriously value-for-money shoppers, but in a contradiction, India is also the world's fastest-growing luxury market. Well, Dheeraj Sinha is author of Consumer India Inside the Indian Mind and Wallet. He's also Chief Strategy Officer at Bates 141, a marketing and communications-based agency in Mumbai. The company is part of WPP. He joins us now live from our Hong Kong studios. Great to have you with us today, Dheeraj. Look, let me ask you, I've read that rural consumers are in India very much warming up to the branded products idea, and that the urban-rural divide is fading away faster than one could imagine. Now, with this huge distinction between the wealthy and the poor still in India, is this in fact true?
Yes, in fact, if you look at across India at a lot of levels and in very many ways, the desires and aspirations are quite common. So the desire for overall India, whether it's wealthy or poor, to upgrade to a better sense of living, to upgrade to a better lifestyle is pretty high. So across rural markets, for example, unlike what the world would imagine, they're not so much driven by value and functionality alone. Of course, they seek value and functionality, but the desire to upgrade their lifestyle, the desire to participate into brands and products which are aspiration driven is really very high. A case in point being Tata Nano, a product designed for the lower end consumer, is actually not taking off in such a huge way because it's been branded as a cheap car. So the guys who want to buy a car as a status product would actually try and save a little more and shell out a little more of money to upgrade to a real car which adds status to their lifestyle rather than buy something which looks cheap,
Yeah, absolutely. It does seem that price points are so much more important than they used to be for the companies out there that are looking at making sales in India. How did a company like Tata get it so wrong with the Nano?
In fact, Tata banked a lot on the public relations and the coverage that the Nano got across the board, and a lot of the coverage was very elite mindset driven. So it's all spoken about innovation and how this car has been a case study in bottom of the pyramid marketing, but the real consumer for whom it was designed for did not receive probably any direct communication to say that this is what the product is going to do to your life. And I would imagine that the communication, the public relations reached the people who were not designed to buy the product in that sense.
Do you have a view on which particular brand, which market in India is marketing their product correctly? I mean, is there someone that's doing it right?
Oh, there are lots of people. I mean, there are lots of people. Those who've got it right are the ones who've gotten inside the culture, who've understood the real aspirations of India and have not come in with a pre-cooked, say, Western template. So brands like, say, LG, brands like Samsung have got it really good because they've given the Indian consumer the right package at the right price point and with enough amount of aspirational value. Similarly, brands like, say, Honda have done it quite well because the pricing and the product and the aspiration are going hand in hand. So it's not just good enough to have the right pricing, it's also important to have the right aspiration and to make the consumer feel that he and she is moving up in their life, because the larger India today is motivated by this whole desire to move up, to upgrade their lifestyle, which we've not had for past generations.
Let me ask you about then the opportunities that you see elsewhere in the market, particularly in rural telecoms, because of course we've got this the telco business in India. It certainly is an interesting one and quite a complex one, and the competition is very, very, very fierce in this industry, but margins are also very thin.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, if you look at the urban telecom market is by 120% saturated. But if you look at the rural telecom market, the density of mobile telephone is still in the band of 25 to 30%. So there's a lot of coverage that the rural areas will get. I mean, all predictions right now are saying that there are about 600 to 650 million connections overall in India, out of which 200 million are from the rural markets. But 70 to 75% of connections in future are actually going to come from the rural markets. But a lot of this has to be driven by value-added services, by services like giving agricultural updates on SMS and stuff like that. The rural and the small-town market is also very entertainment-hungry. So with 3G opening up, and if the pricing of 3G is done well, and you could load it with enough amount of value-added services, that should mean a lot of good for the rural consumer and better revenues for the telecom industry.
Who's got the upper hand here in this space, in the telco space in India?
Sorry, could you just repeat that?
Who has got the upper hand in the telco space?
The upper hand, I mean, the brands like Airtel and Tata's and Vodafone. So infrastructure in India is really important. So if you don't have the infrastructure to get into the rural markets, to the small town world, then you have a handicap. So guys who've got the infrastructure right are going to do well.
Okay. All right, Dheeraj, really good to have you with us today. Thank you so much for joining us, and congratulations on the completion of your book. Dheeraj Sinha, the author of Consumer India, chatting to us there. Obviously, a lot of opportunities still to be had in that market. Now, we're going to have more on the markets for you after the break, including the opening numbers for Japan's afternoon session, so we'll be back with that in just 3.